Ba 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 da ba ba.
Hello there, Ruin Johnson here, back with another video for all you man babies. So, today Ruin has been preparing some scientific research for you all. Now, this research is around Twitter, and as you all know, for those who follow me on Twitter, Ruin is a bit of a personality on Twitter. I have grown my Twitter following over the last year and a half by being somewhat outspoken about my views on Star Wars and obviously my perfect Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. However, Ruin has noticed that even though he still only has a modest Twitter following, some of the rather large shills have many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers. However, they appear to get far less interaction and likes and retweets than little old Ruin here, and in fact less interaction than many of the Fandom Menace accounts. Now, that is rather interesting because a lot of these shills would call the Fandom Menace bots, Russian bots and trolls and sock puppets and fake accounts. So Ruin has decided to do some investigative journalism and have a look at how many fake accounts there are out there. Very interesting. Let's have a look, man babies. Okay, so here we go. So for his research, Ruin has used this website called SparkToro. It's a fake followers audit. And as you can see, you can put in the Twitter account into the box and you can find out how many fake followers a particular Twitter account has. And you can see an example here at the bottom. So, maybe a low score would be around the 14% mark. It says, in our research, 5 to 30% of followers are fake. So interesting to see how the different personalities fit into this bracket. So we start with Ruin Johnson himself. So I acted as the control example for this experiment, and you can see I've got now just 4,109 followers, and do give me a follow if you're watching me, but you can see 13% of those 500 or so are, according to this audit, potentially fake followers, but you can see that puts me in the low to medium range. It's a perfectly acceptable score, particularly as I'm often called a bot myself, so I'll happily take that score. But as you can see, I've amassed my following, and the vast majority, almost getting towards 90%, are all genuine followers, so very pleased. Now, let's go and have a look at some other accounts out there. So, Pablo Hidalgo. Now, very interesting, Pablo, because you're often blocking people on Twitter. You had a bit of a meltdown where you closed your Twitter account and deleted all your followers, but rather interestingly, you've got 17%, nearly 18% fake followers, and that amasses to a 12,500 people, or bots, shall we call them. So, very interesting, Pablo. I don't suppose you would have been buying fake followers when you restarted your accounts. I'm sure you didn't. Anyway, let's move on. Who else do we have? Screen Rant. Now, for those of you familiar or not, Screen Rant is a trash site who often produce controversial clickbaity articles about Star Wars, where they like to really get stuck into the Fandom Menace, and they are a very pro-Disney shill site. But you can see over 20% fake followers, 27,000 fake followers. So Screen Rant, you're a shill site, you're trash, and you have 20% fake followers, you dismal failures. Okay, moving on. Steele Saunders. Now, Steele Saunders is often very nasty towards the Fandom Menace. He was recently rather badly embarrassed when he interviewed Daisy Ridley, and he was Daisy shut him down over his Reylo bandwagon hopping. But as you can see, Steele, now this is rather embarrassing because this is your personal account. You have 9,000 followers, nearly double old Ruin, but a quarter of them are fake, Steele. What is going on? You have 2,200 fake bots making up your follower list. Very embarrassing, Steele. You need to up your game, you nasty shill. Next up is John Campy. John Campy, who a rather big Star Wars personality, but sadly for John, he has 33.3% fake followers. That's a third of all his followers are 100% fake. John, this is a rather tragic result, John. It's one of the highest I've seen on here. And yes, you really need to go rethink your life. Terrible, John. And next up, it's Full of Sith. Now, for those of you who don't know, Full of Sith is a shill podcast ran by none other than Brian Young. Now, as you can see, a rather shocking result where, again, a third of all their followers, nearly 5,000 followers, and a score of high on the Spark-Toro scale are classed as fake. That is a shocking result for a podcast who likes to claim they are a force for good. You actually have a rather lot of fake followers on your Twitter account, Full of Sith. Your shills, we all know your shills, and now we've proven that you are a fake shill. And then finally, Collider. Now, Collider, one of the largest media sites which covers Star Wars. And are we surprised to know that Collider has a whopping 36.5% fake followers? That's over 40,000 fake followers. Collider, this is embarrassing, and any shred of respect we had left for you has now been obliterated. Collider, you can go jump off a cliff. You're an embarrassment to media, journalism and Star Wars. And finally, of course, I couldn't leave it there. We had to check our old friend, the Manbaby himself, Ryan Johnson. Now, Ryan Johnson famously claimed that Russian bots were behind some of the backlash to The Last Jedi. He claimed that bots were behind some of the bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's rather embarrassing for Ryan Johnson that, again, almost a third of his followers, a whopping 309,000, are actually bots. So Ryan, you're a round-headed buffoon, and you call other people bots when actually you've obviously paid for a third of your followers who are all fake bots. Ryan, what an absolute disgrace. But I could not leave it there because it was such a shocking result. I had to cross-check this to make sure I was right. So we went onto another site called Twitter Audit, where again we can check how many of the followers are real, because I just could not believe Ryan would have so many fake followers. So we went onto this site and you can see it gives you a score and a percentage score. So let's have a look at Ryan Johnson. It's unbelievable. He has 495,000 fake followers according to this site. It's even worse than we thought, and he has a percentage score which is remarkably similar to the audience percentage score for The Last Jedi, 47%. Ryan Johnson, more than half of your followers are fake bots. So there we have it, Manbaby, some very interesting reading. So next time one of these shills or Lucasfilm employees tries to give you some abuse, just remind them of how many of their followers are fake bots that they've paid for to inflate their sense of social media presence. They are all fakes, they're an embarrassment, and we should call them out for what they are. Until next time, Manbabies, Ruin loves you. Goodbye.
I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found.